Quebec, Canada, fighting Troy the Destroyer Dorsey, 12 rounds for the World Super Lightweight Championship.
What are you going to do now as far as kickboxing?
First, I want to thank God, say hello to my wife, Shelly and Kendra. Happy birthday, Shane, and thank all of my instructors and students at my school. Now, pick up kickboxing and boxing both again and go after a world title.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
The winner and still Hurricane World Super Lightweight Champion of the world, Troy the Destroyer Dorsey!
Have you had any of your students before in class get hurt? Like, get hurt pretty bad?
No.
Never, not even a nosebleed, like, not on purpose, of course.
We had a student one time. Did a roundhouse kick, so a rear leg round kick. Her foot, this foot is facing your opponent, and here's her other foot. This is the foot she's going to kick with. She stepped, did a rear leg round kick. This foot is supposed to turn. It should turn this way. Her foot didn't turn, so her knee went.
How old was she? Do you remember?
She was in her 30s. She was training with her son. Guess what? She had surgery. She got it repaired, and she came back and she got a black belt.
Oh my God.
And she's a doctor
That's cool.
in this area, Dr. Gray.
That's crazy though. Like,
Yeah. Her and her son Braden got their black belt
I've
together.
never broken a bone, even though I've never broken a bone, even though I'm extremely clumsy. It's honestly surprising, but yeah, I feel like it's almost hard to not get hurt at some point, even practicing in, this kind of sport.
Right.
So I think that's pretty good, though. You haven't had, you're saying not that many students really hurt.
No. Now, she was on the ground, and they had to call 911. The ambulance came in and got her because her knee just turned. So, yeah, over the thousands of students that I've taught in the last 40, it's in October will be 42 years that have been in business, and it's been real fortunate.
That's crazy.
That's the most serious injury we've had, and every once in a while maybe a bloody lip or a black eye, or people slip sometimes, but you can say okay, you guys get out there and you're gonna work each other hard, and so you just got to work easy, just like a race car driver. So me and you are not race car drivers, but I remember when I learned how to drive, and you probably everyone remembers when they first started driving. They got in the car, and they looked where the keyhole was, and they got the key, and they stuck it in, and they turned the key, and then they looked everywhere, and then they say, okay, we're gonna go reverse, okay, one, and then they take the foot off the brake, and then they back up real slow, and then they put it in D, and then they drive. So, but now you get in your car now, and you don't even look at anything. So that's the way it becomes. Is at first when you're working, when you're sparring with your partner, then it's like starting your car for the first time. You just go slow, and this way I know what you're doing. So let's say me and you are sparring, and you know what I'm doing. I know what you're doing. So I go jab like this, and you move your head over, and you throw a side kick in my body, and then you throw a jab and a cross and a hook. And then you do it to me. You jab at me, I lean over, I side kick you in the body. So I just put my foot there, I jab across a hook, and you work that back and forth and back and forth. So working those techniques so that this way you feel comfortable, I feel comfortable, and then we work another combination or another type of kicking and punching techniques, in other words. So after they've done that for a couple of weeks, then you're in the habit of kicking and punching and being kicked and punched. And the idea is not to knock out. The idea is not to hurt. The idea is not to impair. The idea is just to work together as a team. So we don't want anybody. We want everybody to be a team player. Everybody knows or have known somebody that's not a team player. They're going to just show you how tough they are. Well, we don't allow that at all. There's no, what do you call it? Zero tolerance. That's what you call it. Yeah.
When are your women's classes again?
Well, we have children's and adult classes every day, pretty much.
Oh, okay, so
Monday through Thursday.
so what happens Friday through Sunday? Is it? Are you
Friday we have special black belt club classes
Oh, okay.
for kids, so that they committed to be a black belt, then they come to that class. And then Saturday and Sunday we're closed, so our staff can be at home, and our students can be at home with their families. You don't have to tie Saturdays and Sundays up in martial arts. That's the reason we don't do anything on Saturday and Sunday. And now, we did it for years. For the first 40 years we did it, and now we've just decided, okay, it's time for everybody to spend time with their family on Saturdays and Sundays.
I would love to do lessons.
You're gonna have to come in.
I know. I have to figure out when though.
Yeah. Just 2 days a week, and the classes. Your class would be Monday through Thursday, 7 to 7:45. And just pick 2 that you would come to.
Okay, so it's 7 to 7:45, Monday through Thursday, and I pick 2.
Yes, ma'am.
And I could do that.
Yeah. And the kids' classes are 5:05 to 5:50.
Well, my mom's really interested too in like at least the self-defense part, you know?
Right.
How many people are usually in the 7 to 7:45 class?
Sometimes there's 15, sometimes there's 25,
Oh, really?
sometimes 30.
I'll have to think about it. Troy, is it on your website?
No, we don't put the time on our website because people look at the time, oh, no, I can't make it. So we don't put that. We have them call us.
Like, okay. Could you send me information like registration,
I couldn't.
fees?
I couldn't.
You couldn't? Just send me that when you have time, like all that information.
Okay.
I'll look at it and see what if I can do it. So
Okay.
yeah, because I've been really wanting to get more active. I just haven't because I've been so busy with school
Right.
and work. But that sounds a lot more fun to me than going to the gym and running on a treadmill. You know,
Pumping
so
weights. Yeah, that can be kind of boring. Nothing against it, but it can be kind of boring. Instead of kicking and punching, and everybody's kicking and punching the bag when they start. Everybody has a bag, or we put 2 or 3 on one bag. And so this guy worked it, and this guy, this girl, this guy, this girl, this guy, this girl, and they're working around it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to get my son and my daughter into something, but my daughter's already busy from Monday through Wednesday. She's a competitive dancer.
Oh yeah.
So
That's great. She's getting some good physical exercise. That dancing is really difficult. My daughter was a dancer, and both my daughters dance. My oldest daughter, she danced for the team. Maybe it's been 10 years now. 10 years ago, she danced for the Dallas Cowboys Rhythm and Blues Dancers.
okay.
There was the everybody knows who the cheerleaders are. They're the most famous cheerleaders in the world, the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. But she danced for the Dallas Cowboys Rhythm and Blues Dancers. It was a new dancing team. She tried out. She made it. She did it the next second year, and then she was finishing up her college, so she was finishing college up. It's too difficult to do college and to train for that team. So then after she graduated college, then she went and did again a third time, and she was dancing for them.
Okay.
So dancing is great. There's just no self-defense in dancing.
Say that again.
Dancing is great, and it's great exercise. There's just no self-defense
Right. No
in
self-defense.
in dancing. So the self-defense part is actually where are you gonna kick this person? You don't kick the person in the head. You don't even kick them in the body. You kick them in the knee. When you're walking, your knee bends forward. It doesn't bend sideways, and it doesn't bend backwards.
Right.
So that's one kick that's one side of this, but you kick the knee. You kick the knee like this. I like the idea of kicking the knee like this. call it a round kick or a roundhouse kick. Kick the knee like this. You only kick the person unless you're in the knee. You only kick that person unless it's life or death. Oftentimes you don't have the time to ask, sir, are you trying to kill me, just trying to hurt me, or just trying to take my money? I mean, people nowadays are so crazy. They ask for your money, and while you're giving the money, you might drop the money on the ground, and then boom, kick them in the knee. They confronted me, and I went like this. Let's go, buddy. If they got a gun or they got a knife and they know how to use it, then I'm telling them, I know something. I might know what to do, right? So you're just going to be like this, that relay roundhouse kick to the knee. It's pretty devastating.
Yeah. I think they'll go crumpling to the ground pretty quick.
Yes, sir, and then I'm running the other way.
Hey guys, welcome back to If the Gloves Could Talk, and I am here with Mr. Troy Dorsey, as I am every single week, and we've got a really exciting guest that we're going to introduce here, Mr. Kevin Kelly. How are you doing today?
Doing very good and happy to be on the show.
Awesome. Now, Kevin is not just any ordinary guest we have. Well, none of our guests are ordinary. All of our guests are very unique and have great talents about them. But Kevin especially has fought a total of 72 fights, has had 60 wins, and 39 of those by knockout. And one of those fights was against Mr. Troy Dorsey. Do you remember that night?
I remember that now.
Of course. Never forget it.
I remember.
So,
We'll never forget that fight.
Before we get into that fight, Kevin, can you first tell our guests a little bit about you, your backstory, and how you got into fighting?
Well, pretty much, I was 15 years old. I was looking for something to do. I studied martial arts for the beginning. My father studied martial arts, and it was okay, but I wanted something a little bit more elaborate, I guess. And I had found out a boxing gym. I really wasn't really interested, I think. I was just curious. And when I went to a gym for about maybe 3 months on summer break, it didn't work out for me. So I wound up going close to the house to another gym. And when I went to that gym, the trainer was Phil Borgia, which is a former Vietnam vet, recon unit. And he was a half martial artist, half boxing trainer. And what happened was I went on the train with him, and my career, I started advancing quickly, and it was really shocking. And I forgot. The reason I only went to the gym was actually to get a boxing jacket. I didn't go to the gym to box. I went to get the boxing jacket. I was going to quit.
Oh, yeah.
But I forgot about the jacket. And I had a competitive nature about myself, I guess. And it blew up. I couldn't believe how fast I was moving. And I won a Golden Gloves. I started traveling. I said, this thing ain't too bad. You know what I'm saying? I went to Scandinavia. I went to Denmark. I went to Norway. I'm like, wow, this is nice. So I was just enjoying it. And my father, of course, and mother liked it because I wasn't in the streets. I was working. I was going to school, and I was boxing. So I had no time to mess up. So, boxing, one thing I give credit to it. It gave me one thing. It gave me something that was mine and that I could go do it pretty much every day. And I really enjoyed it. And before I knew it, I went to the trials and everything else. Then also the trials to Carl Daniels, and they said go pro, and I was like, really? I didn't think, I didn't think about if God had blessed me or not. But I turned professional, and the rest is all history, and that's amazing. You never know what you're set out to do. Because I wanted to be a mechanic. I was going to college to be a mechanic at the time. I wanted to fix cars. I liked cars, so that's what I thought I was going to do. But God had different plans.
Yes. You like to work on cars. You got to work on
I used
people.
to fix.
You got to work
I
on
used
people.
to fix
You worked on me some.
Yeah, like I said, Dana White told me his favorite fight is me and Troy Dorsey. A lot of people tell me,
Yeah.
that when you're a boxer, right? I got 72 pro fights, but I only hear about 3 of them. And luckily, one of them is me and Troy Dorsey, and another one is me and Gainer, and then me and the Prince. So at the end of the day, even though I got 72 pro fights, those three are the most important fights of my career. So I'm
So let's
glad
just
that I
go.
had.
Let's just go straight into those fights, Kevin. Why was your fight with Troy? Why did so many people enjoy watching that?
Talk about those first two fights first.
Well, Troy was a bad. He's a bad dude. Like people always ask me if I could be stuck in an alley with anybody and I have to defend myself against somebody, who you want with you? They always ask me that question. I say Troy Dorsey, because you can't stop him. You know he's unrealistic. You know, your guy you hit at the time. You remember I was 26-0. I had like 18 knockouts, and you hit Troy and he don't even blink. So that's amazing. I mean, I'll never forget the fourth round. This is a famous quote I said to Phil. You know, I was so used to knocking guys out and going on. And I said to Phil the fourth round, I said, Phil, what I got to do to knock this guy out? Phil said, you're not. Welcome to boxing. I'll never forget that. And I said to myself, damn, I got to. Like I said, you know, Troy, if I wasn't ready to be champion, Troy would expose me. And that's the thing about Troy. You know, a guy like Troy, you know, at the time in his career, when he was doing it, I mean, I've seen him fight before once or twice. I never paid much mind to it. You know, when you're coming up and young, you're worried about what you're doing more or less than what everybody else is doing. So, but I knew who he was. Okay, I knew what he did. He fought Paez and they went to war. And the thing with him was, like I said, you know, you got to train special. Matter of fact, because I fought Troy, I've had fighters that years later came to me when they fought guys that fought like Troy and asked me questions like Nate the Galaxy Warrior, he came to me. Juan Guzman came to me. Because when they fought the baby bull, David Diaz, Jojo Diaz, matter of fact, when they fought him, they asked me, how do you deal with that style? Because they understand that I fought Troy Dorsey in the same way. And like I said, Troy knows. Styles make fights. Styles make fights. If you box Troy, you're going to lose because you can't move. You're going to have to move 12 rounds. The whole thing. You know, he's a juggernaut. He's nonstop. He's nonstop.
So let's talk about those other two fights that you mentioned, Kevin. What was so different about those fights?
Well, nothing compared to Dorsey's fight. Nothing. But Gainer, because with the atmosphere with Gainer, it wasn't so much with Gainer that it was a hard fight. It was an entertaining fight because I had to go to Florida, fight Roy Jones's best friend, defend my world title against his best friend on a card that I couldn't win because it was not made to be that way. By fighting in Florida, him paying the judges and the officials. So at the end of the day, I could only win by knockout. So I had to travel to Florida and win by knockout. And that's exactly what happened. That was a great fight. I had one eye closed. I think even Troy enjoyed that fight. I had one eye closed. I dropped him twice. They had me losing on the scorecards, and I dropped him twice. It was crazy. And I went on to knock him out around 8. So Gainer fight's a very good fight to watch if you want to watch anything about me. Me and Kelly Gainer, good fight. And then the third fight, of course, the legendary Prince fight. People don't realize that I pursued that fight. I made that fight happen. When you're 47-1 and you want to get paid good money, at the time I was creating the lightweights on HBO. So actually, so you know, the public knows out there, I was actually the first lightweight on HBO in 25 years. So when that wasn't my goal. My goal was to get the most money, but it turned into me being the leader of that. I put Terrell Gotti on HBO. I put Junior Jones on HBO, Sugar Shane Mosley on HBO. I literally put them on HBO by talking to Lou DiBella. And so when you talk about the Prince, and I asked them, I said, guys, how am I going to get a big money fight? They said, we're going to fight that's worth big money. I grabbed the Ring magazine. I opened it up. I found this guy, the Prince. I see him. I looked at him. He made more money than me. He was the only guy making more money than me. And I said, holy cow. I flew to England, and I was there only to challenge him, to bring him to America. And he told me no. They told me they don't need me. All right, they didn't need me. And then I heard he wanted to come to America, and I went back again the second time. You could see that on YouTube. And I did the same thing. I said, you have to fight me. So he mentioned that like he was coming to America to fight me, but he really wasn't. And there was a lot of politicking going on there. And that's a rematch that should have happened, but he didn't want to fight me. He told me, we're good friends. He said to me, Kevin, I don't mind boxing you, but I don't want to get knocked out. Thus, I'm not fighting you. That's the only reason. And I promised him. I said, listen, I'll do it in a contract. I won't knock you out. I promise. I'll put it in paper. We'll make a stack of money, and I will not. I said, if I hurt you, I'm going to step back, right? And make the crowd boo me because I can take you out. So at the end of the day, that it's like this is boxing as a business, and you wind up some of the greatest fights that you've had. You wind up being best friends with those guys because they're just like you. Dorsey. I had told Dorsey. I remember telling Dorsey in a press conference about that I'm a martial artist. I study martial arts, also Jeet Kune Do, and so I appreciate him. And I started sparring. Even later, I told Dorsey one day. I called him up one day, and I told him I was sparring Paul Vizio, and as a kickbox a little bit Paul Vizio, and so pretty much we have a lot in common, me and Troy. Pretty much, I'm more a martial artist than I'm a boxer, but I use boxing as my platform. You know what I'm saying? So people don't realize I do very strange things by switching and backhanding. I do a lot of stuff that's very unique. You know what I'm saying? Because Bruce Lee wanted everybody to be unique in their own style, and that's what I appreciate. Troy.
Exactly, and let me back up a little bit, Kevin. So from 1993 to 1995, you held the WBC featherweight title. You were known as a Flushing Flash. So what does that even mean? How did that name even come to be?
Well, the name, I don't really have a name coming up. And I felt that I want the public or the media to give me a name. You know what I'm saying? If they feel something like that. I didn't want to feel. I felt that was a little arrogant to me to an extent. But so what happened was one time Ed, what's that pronounced? Ed Darien, whatever his name is, he works for the Garden. He said he used to always mess up where I was from. Cause I'm from Flushing, Queens, right? And he used to say from Rochester, all these other places, they mess it up in the ring, and I couldn't believe it. And one day he goes from Flushing, and then he goes Flash. He doesn't say nothing. And the next day in the paper, it came out the Flushing Flash wins again. So I said, what? So I guess they gave me a name, so I kept it. And that's how that worked.
It worked out good
I
for
kept
you.
It worked out good. Like I said, Flushing Flash, and I'm friends with the Filipino Flash here in Vegas too. And it worked out. Like I said, people, I let them, sometimes people try to live up to their name. With me, the name was made, that's the best way to do it. That's the best way. It's like Iron Mike Tyson. He never called himself Iron Mike Tyson, but the public called him Iron Mike Tyson. So it worked out great.
And do you know what Troy's ring name was? And I guess still is.
Oh, man. I never heard his ring name. I never heard it.
Okay.
I would like to know, though.
It's DES, capital T, capital R, capital O, capital Y, ER.
Destroyer.
Destroyer. Yeah. Troy.
Yeah.
Destroyer.
Yeah, Destroyer.
Does he seem like a destroyer to you?
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, he's a destroyer. He's definitely a destroyer. See, one thing about Troy, see, in boxing, people don't realize something. Troy can make you quit. The hardest thing for a man to do is to quit. Okay? To throw in the towel. I mean, he can make you do that. If any man can make you do that, it's him. He can make, and him and Jojo Diaz, guys like that you hit, and they don't stop coming. And I mean, they hitting. The most amazing thing about Troy, I hit him, and he was hitting me back while I was hitting him. I've never had that in my life. That's amazing. To me, he's an amazing individual. I tell you, I tell you all the time to this day. Dana White talks to me about the fight. When he sees me, this, that, with Troy Dorsey. I mean, that fight actually would have been the first fight in history to be stopped because the time Randy Gordon, the commissioner, said it was too barbaric. He was thinking about stopping it around 8 and 9 because the fight was so barbaric. Women were passing out. People were passing out from screaming, yelling. It was crazy.
Did you know that?
It was pandemonium.
No, I didn't know that.
It was pandemonium in that room. Because you know why? Because you got to remember. I mean, what's funny? In the black-white thing, but it's kind of funny because this is kind of funny. You know how black guys are, right? So when my friends see me in a neighborhood, when I go back to Flushing, I'm living in a different neighborhood now. Then, and I would go back to the neighborhood, and they say, Yo, Kev, who's your next opponent? You know how black guys are, right? And they go, I go, Troy Dorsey. You mean that guy that fought the Paez guy? I said, yeah, him. Oh, that white boy gonna kick your and that's what I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there for that one. And that's what got the people out, right? And that's what got the people out because they were like, that's my people that grew up with. Say, oh, he gonna kick your You can't stop him. You know what I'm saying? And that's what they said.
I know.
That's what made it so. That's what made it so interesting. Okay,
Wow.
right? Because, like I said, that was the true test, and I'm gonna thank Troy today because without that fight, I never had to go to that extent in my whole career. In my whole career, think about it.
Thank you.
That's the hardest fight, right? So I had to go to that extent because that's the closest. I would tell people that's the closest to dying. And, you know what I'm saying? That's the closest to death because what you're thinking. Look, you can lose the fight or you can continue doing this thing. The question mark is, do you want to continue doing it? You know what I'm saying? He make you question yourself. And the thing is, you find out who you really are in a boxing match or in a fight. Whether it's a kickboxing match, any kind of match, you find out what kind of fighter you really, really are. That's what fighting does for people. You know who you are. And you know you're a warrior. You know what I'm saying? I'm just glad that, I got 72 guys that, that I went through. And I got 75 as an amateur. So that's 140 something fights. So, you don't think about it like that. But, and what's been very helpful for me is in Vegas, Troy, you know One Kick Nick, right?
Who?
One Kick Nick?
I do not.
One Kick? Okay, well, One Kick Nick was a martial artist, kickboxing champion too. And he's got a gym out here. Well, half dojo, I would say. And I was able to train Steve Cantwell for WEC matches. I used a lot of stand-up. But I do things very different than most boxers because it's integrated with martial arts. So that's the big thing. So realistically, in the ring that night was two martial artists boxing against each other. And Troy, like I said, an amazing fighter. I mean, that's the first time I had to go to the hospital. I peed blood. If you think it was gonna be an easy night when Troy's in the ring, you got nothing coming. You know what I'm saying? And I think Troy gained the respect of a lot of friends, especially in New York City. If Troy goes to New York right now, and say, "Oh, you that cat that fought Kev? Oh man," I love Troy because, the thing is, he's a true warrior, and that's the thing. He's a true warrior.
Do you wish you ever fought Troy again when y'all were still competing?
Oh no. One time is good enough.
That's
it. Like that's there's things that you go back and want to do again, and that wasn't one of them.
That wasn't one of them.
That's the kind of thing you just take the victory and you run as far as you can get away and hope that they lose your number. But like I said, it's not an easy battle with Troy because, like I said, you can't hurt him no matter what you do. I mean, you think about it. I'm 28 with like 18 knockouts at the time. I'm like thinking to myself, I'm hitting this guy and he's hitting me back while I'm hitting him. He's an experience out of 72 whole fights I never had. You know what I'm saying? I fought Gainer and I fought Prince. And nothing like Troy Dorsey. Nothing close.
Now, Kevin, let me ask, because I'm just curious. So after a fight like that, how and when did y'all start talking and I guess becoming friends? Like, when does that happen in the mix?
Well, that happened right the fight was over because I think he was in the hospital with me. I think we both were there together. So pretty much, I think I said something to Troy when he was in the hospital. I saw him in the hospital, I think. I vaguely remember seeing you. And we seen each other. And, we kind of, like I said, we didn't know each other before the fight. But like I tell everybody, Sugar Ray and Hearns are best friends. And a lot of these guys are best friends after their wars. Because you need the other guy to make your legacy. You need him. We both need each other. So I needed Troy needed me. So we need that. You need that. And like I said, even with the Prince fight, it's like you need that kind of guy. Okay? Because realistically, the people ain't going to remember every fight you had. They're not going to remember. They're going to remember the ones that stick out. And me and Troy Dorsey stick out. Me and Gainer stick out. And me and Prince stick out. So I got 72, but 3 stick out. And I'm glad to have Troy, as one of them. You know what I'm saying? That's a great thing because you live forever that way. That's how you live forever. Because, I tell people today say, they come to me and see me in the street and say, "Yo, I was just watching your fight last night of you and Troy Dorsey." I'm like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Wow, man, how did y'all survive that fight?" People were like, don't realize, it was that intense. I mean, at that moment, we broke the Guinness Book of World Records as most punches thrown. And then we got beat the following week by Ike Padilla. Remember Ike Padilla, Dorsey?
I do not.
Well, he beat us in the most punches by like 10 punches. But we had the most punches thrown in at that moment in the Guinness Book of World Records. Right. So that was pretty. Like I said, Troy. Realistically, it was for Troy's number one spot because at the time, if you look at it, some managers say I would never match Kevin against Troy because I was number one in the BC in the BA, but I wanted to get rated number one in the BC. No, the IBF. Sorry, the IBF because Troy was number one in the IBF. So I was number one in the BC at the time. So realistically, that fight was bigger. If you look at it, bad management, I would say, what I'm saying? Thinking about it, I'm number one in the BC, he's number one in the IBF, and us going against each other, we're going for ranking. So it's a very dangerous fight, as far as business-wise. And I don't know if that was a smart move, you know what I'm saying? But it worked out because Troy, in that fight, I learned what a true fight is about. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I never had another one like that, but, you find out how good you really are. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
I love it.
Yeah, everything went down. I mean, hands down. I mean, there was one time when that fight I tell people all the time, that's the only fight that I found out about myself and what I'm capable of doing. Because the thing is, you don't know what you're capable of doing until somebody puts you in that situation. You see what I'm saying? So you don't know. So in one of the rounds, I think it was the fourth round, I was done. And I threw my hands down and let Troy throw punches, but I was still moving my head to avoid punches. Yeah. But I put my hands down, so like an act of frustration, I put my hands down, but I moved my head, and I just said later for it. Look, the inner Kevin would not quit. The inner Kevin, I was like, I understand what fighters say, you got to kill me. You like if any fight I would have died, it would have been that one. Because at the end of the day, I understand my personality. I had no quitting. I wasn't going to quit. And I'm sure Troy looked at it like, this guy's not going to quit. He's going to keep throwing punches at me, right? And like I said, the thing was my hands were swollen. I never had my earlobes were swollen. Everything was swollen on me. You know what I mean? I never felt like that again in my career. Never. And that was an amazing, like I said, when people to this day, they ask me, what's your hardest fight? Oh, you watch a Troy Dorsey fight. That's why I think it's got to be put back on the internet. I've looked for it on YouTube, see it no more. I don't know if somebody took it down or what they did, but if you're teaching kids how to fight, and like I said, I got calls from other world champions when they fought guys that fight like Troy. That was a piece of history. So now the guys call me, yo, Kev, you fought Troy. How did you beat Troy? I got to tell them the story. I said, you listen. I look at their style and I say, well, either you got the style or you don't got the style to do it. Troy's not an easy way to beat. I mean, what do you do, right? But Phil, I give Phil the credit. We trained very hard for that fight. So I was in the best condition I could possibly be in. Because if you're halfway with Troy, you're going to lose the fight. I was in the best condition, and Phil told me. And I'll never forget it. He said, if he throws 6 punches, you throw 10. If he throws 10, you throw 20. So that's how you had to win. If he throws 10, because a guy like Troy Dorsey, when you come out to box him, if you try to box him, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So you have to be on your P's and Q's, and you gotta fight Troy Dorsey. It's like I call it the bully syndrome. And Troy knows what I'm talking about. It's like if a guy breaches your guard, right, and you don't defend your guard, then he's gonna walk right through you. And that's the thing how Troy's style is. So at the end of the day, I had to confront him and attack him like he's attacking me. That's the way you got to beat him.
Now, Kevin, I've got one final question, and I think this is my question I'm most interested to ask is you've had, a great career and lots of highlights to it. What would be your one moment in your career, if you could relive it again, you would?
What, Troy Dorsey?
No. One moment. Any moment in your career, what's one that you wish you could relive again?
I don't have that. I really don't. People ask me that from time to time. I really don't have that. A lot of people give it to me. We'd love to see you and the Prince get in the ring again. Stuff like that. I go by I go by the customer. I would say the most I would do right now, if I had to do something right now, I would do an exhibition with me and the Prince, and just it, something very light, nothing heavy, nothing hard. Just an exhibition, because the bottom line is my fan base tells me what they liked and what they enjoyed. And not one person, thank God, no one person said they like me and Dorsey back in the ring. But thank God in that one. And so pretty much, they talk about the Gainer fight. Like I said, that's the only thing I would say. But I don't really have it because to me, I've done it all. I grabbed the world titles and grabbed another world title. So at the end of the day, like Troy tell you, there's no such thing as great fighters. There's no such thing. There's only such thing as great fights. Okay? And Troy knows we're talking about great matchups. That's what boxing's really about. Okay? Nobody's really a great fighter. When you think about it, you really think about it. Ali needed Frazier, he needed Foreman, he needed Norton. Sugar Ray needed Hagler, he needed Hearns. Okay? Ray Robinson needed LaMotta. So at the end of the day, you need each other. And so at the end of the day, there's no such thing as great fighters, but there is a thing of great fights. I'm glad I can leave this behind.
What's the most memorable time, the most memorable thing that happened in your career? The most memorable thing that you did in your career?
Well, I would say my first world title.
Yeah.
Because I was about to retire.
Right.
Because even you probably were pissed off at that one because the bottom line was you like how long is it gonna take for Kevin to get a world title shot? So at the end of the day, I mean, I was 36-0. Who gets a title shot at 36, right? So I mean, my most memorable thing was I felt relieved. I mean, the first thing my thought in my head was I fought Troy Dorsey. You know what I'm saying, to get hit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I had to go through that, and you know what I'm saying? It's true. I had to go through that. And the bottom line was everybody was easier after him. So at the end of the day, when I won the world title, the BC title, and you watched me in that ring, I was finally like, oh, finally. You know what I'm saying? Because I was about to retire because I couldn't get a title shot. So the most memorable, I would say, is my first world title.
All right, great.
I love it. Well,
yeah.
Kevin, I just want to first say thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show today. You are definitely a guest we've been really excited to have on. It's been interesting. I've, of course, heard Troy's side of the story, but now I get to hear your side of the story, and it's just great to finally put that together. So thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me, and I'm glad, we're getting revival shows because,
yes,
that fight should not be put to sleep. It's one of the greats, classics. And like I said, I'm just glad I got Troy as my dance partner. And, the bottom line, at the end of the day, you never know. And Marvin Hagler told me that. He said, Kevin, and when I fought Gainer, he said, Kevin, fight Gainer, because I don't want to fight Gainer. He said, you never know. And I said, I found out later in my career that he's right. You never know what the people are going to love.
Yeah.
I'm just glad they love me and Troy.
Yeah.
Troy, anything else you want to tell Kevin today before we jump off of here?
No, thank you for sharing your everything with us today, Kevin. I really appreciate it. And fighters become friends, and we became friends. And I don't remember how I finally got your phone number, or you got my phone number. I'm not sure. I think I might have got yours somehow, some way. But anyway, it was cool to be able to do that. And
like I said, I appreciate you, man, because like I said, Troy is a great friend. I mean, like I said, we didn't know each other before the fight, and we never met each other before the fight, so that was a great thing. And like I said, Troy knows that, you learn. Matter of fact, I made a quote, and HBO used it. And I said to HBO, I says, you don't know, what a boxing match like that does is you get to know about that person. You get to know everything. It's like a marriage. Me and Troy, you know what I'm saying? And me and Gator, when you go fights like that, you're best friends for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it also it sounds like what you're saying is not exactly what you're saying, but you found out what you were made of, right?
Oh yeah,
you didn't
definitely.
No quit in you. That's good.
Yeah. After that, I thank him. I thank him because he showed me that I was capable of being champion. Because he was champion already before me,
right.
And if I survived him, then I knew I was going to be champion. But I was 26-0, and I didn't get the title shot for another 10 fights. So, and I only got it because HBO finally stepped up and put the money out so I can get the fight. So Troy is the reason he let me know. Because if you can't be, like I always tell kids this today, I said, there's a pivotal fight, and Troy Dorsey is a pivotal fight. And if you get to a fight like that, either you're going to win or you're going to lose. Which one's going to happen that night? You don't get another shot at it, okay? So you got to make the most of it. So at the end of the day, once I fought Troy, I knew I was ready for the world title. And what Phil used to say, my trainer used to say it all the time to me. He said, you fought Troy Dorsey, you're the next champion. All day. Nobody can beat you. Nobody can beat you.
That's
After
great,
Troy Dorsey,
Kevin.
that's the truth of the matter, you know.
Thank
That's
you.
the real God's honest truth.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for being on the show today. We'll definitely have to have you come back because this is only part one of many more episodes we'll be doing with you. So.